Move more together for you, your team, and a good cause. Join the Movivo Move Days, the ultimate health challenge during Lent, and win exclusive prizes. Collect points for 45 days in the Movivo app, together with your colleagues or in your own personal way. Whether it's through your favorite sports, breathing exercises, giving up sugar, or ice bathing, every point counts. Are you ready?
A warm welcome to the Wonder Pill Movement, the podcast for everyone who wants to take their health into their own hands. Today, we're back with another special episode as part of the Move Days 2026, the comprehensive health challenge specifically designed for companies and dedicated to a good cause. And now it's DonnersTalk, our second DonnersTalk as part of the Move Days event. At the very beginning, because today this topic is naturally very exciting for many people who would like to make use of the fasting period and perhaps want to learn about fasting, wanting to try out one method or another, who want to get a taste of it. And I've invited a very special guest, Natascha Untersmayr, a long-time Move Days expert, Movevo expert, holistic health coach, and Mayr expert in modern Mayr medicine. Dear Natascha, it's truly wonderful to have you joining us today for the Move Days 2026.
Thank you, Michael, and thank you so much for the kind invitation. And I truly hope that you've already gotten off to a really excellent start with the Move Days and are feeling very motivated. And I will do absolutely everything in my power to ensure it stays that way. Yes. And some things with Michael today to discuss the very topic that also fits with your or our Move Days. I'm also involved with Michael.
Yes,
it's no secret,
clear.
right? That fits perfectly. Thanks, Michael.
Yes, we have a lot planned. We really want to thoroughly and comprehensively address the topic of fasting. There are so many misconceptions, false beliefs, and myths surrounding this topic of fasting. And there will be something in it for many of you, especially those who already have some experience or perhaps have tried it out before. But of course, with proper supervision or guidance, it works much, much better, especially when you know exactly what to expect. And Natascha will give us many insights today. To kick us off, what does fasting mean to you?
For me personally, if you were to ask me, I would definitely say that fasting is a lifestyle, but it's also a tool, a specific instrument within that lifestyle, which is only practiced for a limited period of time, and that's truly crucial.
Which functions in a totally holistic way, pause, meaning it encompasses and addresses the body, the soul, and the spirit, pause, and whose fundamental objective is to achieve comprehensive overall holistic health and well-being.
This is what fasting means to me, you see. So it's very important, the body, mind, and soul, and it's also a lifestyle, a whole philosophy of life. But what's really important is that it's for a limited period, yes? You can certainly repeat it, but always for a specific limited duration. And that's my personal approach to all of this, with a positive feeling and good energy behind it. Because naturally, if you have that positive mindset, then the effects and the results are completely different.
Natascha, you give lectures, you're often on the road, you guide people through their very first fasting cure, or even through their repeated recurring fasting regimens. What are these three major misunderstandings that you are always confronted with when it comes to the topic of fasting?
Well, at first, people will often say, oh no, fasting is definitely not for me. For goodness sake, I'm going to absolutely starve to death.
Okay.
The second thing that comes up, no, I'm definitely not doing that. I need my muscles. That's extremely important. We all know that. Muscle wasting, that's the crucial point.
And the third one, for goodness sake, will I somehow get stressed by this now? How am I even going to manage that? So this whole idea of, oh, I'm going to get stressed and my metabolism will somehow be throttled. These are the three myths, yes, that I frequently hear from people. Yes.
Well, those are already three significant subject areas that we will definitely still address. But let's take a moment to look at the topic a bit more generally. You mentioned that fasting is something very holistic for the body, soul, mind, and that. Yes, and especially, of course, everything that's connected to the gut. We also know that the gut, often called the second brain, transmits a lot of information from the gut to all organs and especially to the brain nowadays. Yes. This has now become state of the art. It's no longer just some kind of esotericism. All of this can also be scientifically substantiated. But what are the major objectives, the big picture goals of fasting? In which areas, or rather in which specific subject areas, can one truly expect improvements if one decides to fast now?
Exactly. So fasting means, please, it's not about renunciation, no, but rather, as I've already mentioned, it's a lifestyle for a limited period of time. And depending on my health goal, I fast. But it's holistic. How do I want to improve my energy level now? Do I want to get my joint pains or stiffness, which have already been medically cleared and mean nothing, under control? Do I want to get a clear head now? You, Michael, explained it so wonderfully at the very beginning, this crucial gut-brain axis. Yes, the gut, it's often referred to as our second brain, and 80% of the information actually travels from the gut directly to the brain. And what we perceive and think, yes, is largely influenced and determined by these gut bacteria and by our gut feeling. This too has been scientifically proven. Exactly. And with fasting, this brain fog, or, I can't concentrate, or I'm just so hyperactive, I want to do this and do that and do that. Yes, in today's world, we often see that because we're living at such a fast pace. I really want to calm down. I want to get a clear head. I also want my body, and this is now very important, yes, I'd say the difference between what is marketing, what we hear on the internet, and what is actual fact. I want to support my body in detoxifying, or rather support my detoxification organs so they can perform their function better. That's the liver, the lungs, the skin, and the kidneys, yes. And how exactly do I go about doing that? Well, there are, of course, many different forms of fasting available, but I will specifically delve into the topic of the gut-brain axis, or more precisely, what role does the gut actually play in fasting? And these are precisely the things we want to achieve with fasting. I mean, you could also say I'm now fasting from sugar for 4 weeks, which is of course, very, very interesting for the move days, right? I can say I want to fast for a week now from all online media and social media. It's best to start by sitting down with a piece of paper and saying, okay, this is my fast number 1 or 3. And for this fasting journey, I specifically aim for this. I want to how does my body feel? Ideally, of course, with a companion.
Yes, we're already right in the thick of it, discussing the different types of fasting. And you mentioned fasting from digital media, or perhaps from social media, or simply giving up sugar. There's so much information out there on the topic of fasting, isn't there? Whether it's juice fasting or alkaline fasting or intermittent fasting.
How do I know what's truly the right thing, what's right for me? Could you give us a quick guide on that?
Exactly. There's just so much available on the, let's say, market. And earlier, I also brought up the question, what exactly is the difference between a proven fact and mere marketing, As you very correctly pointed out, there's juice fasting, there's tea fasting, intermittent fasting, alkaline fasting, and so on and so forth. But often we also hear, and I'm really not excluding myself here, I'm also one who sometimes adopts these expressions. I'm doing a detox, right? I'm doing a cleanse. These are the kinds of statements where you just say, okay, what is detox? What is a cleanse really? So what I'm essentially trying to communicate is that this entire spectrum of fasting approaches has a single origin, and that is precisely to support the detoxification organs, to help the body recover more quickly and effectively, to bring it into a certain, and now I'll mention the word, state. the cells of autophagy. And there are some really great new studies from 23, which I'll get to later. For the first time, it was possible to show in humans how autophagy actually works, and specifically with a Dr. F.X. Mayr therapy, right? So fasting. And you said the second question was, how do I know what's good for me, right? Yes, that's a really good question, because we read a lot. We need ChatGPT to give us answers. It will spit out questions for us and so on. And it also asks really, really good follow-up questions. I have to say that, yes, it asks, what are your health goals? And well, nevertheless, one really ought to take a moment to consider, what exactly is my current situation? How am I truly doing? Am I now in peak physical condition, that athlete who engages in strength training and cardio workouts daily or every other day? Am I 30 years old, or am I now after a pregnancy with a small baby, 1 year old, and want to get myself back in shape and so on? Or am I perhaps a man in my mid-50s who, well, these are all actually different starting situations. First, the situations. And secondly, what's very important and something we tend to completely ignore. What is truly the actual condition of my body, right? And when I ask, then I ask myself, how am I really doing? How are my joints feeling? How's my tongue doing? How is it? Do I have some kind of body odor that I can't get rid of even after showering? Do I constantly have cold hands and feet? Why? Is that an indication? Do I wake up tired in the mornings even though I've had enough sleep, right? Do I have like a feeling in the mornings that I'm too stiff, my joints ache? Yes. Do I have concentration problems? Do I constantly have headaches where the doctor says everything is fine? Do I even sometimes have heart palpitations when I walk faster, where the internal medicine doctor told me everything with your heart is completely fine? These are all indications, you know, that there might be something going on with these detoxification organs, or that the body is sending out signals that we often tend to overlook. And that's exactly where I would really start if I were you, and say, okay, my medical history is right.
So, Desaso, that's how you can imagine it. That's how you can picture it. If you were to work with you, for example, and wanted to undertake the fasting with proper guidance, that you would then conduct a thorough status quo analysis where you answer precisely these questions. How am I actually doing? How do I feel after waking up? Einkorn, how are my joints? You mentioned, how is my tongue?
Why is the tongue important? Perhaps that needs a little explanation for our listeners, our audience.
Yes, in Mayr medicine, and it's not just Mayr medicine, but also in human medicine, it's well documented that the tongue, depending on its coating and its specific color, can indeed play a significant role or provide a clear indication of your overall internal bodily state. It's exactly the same in the oral cavity. The mucous membrane is just like the mucous membrane in our intestines, just like the skin, which is our largest organ on the outside. Yes, all of that is an indication of how I'm doing.
The coating on the tongue, because the tongue has a certain color, so whether the tongue is white coated again or yellowish, that also depends.
You might find a yellow coating. I often ask people, do you ever take a good look at your tongue? Well, from now on, make sure you do that every single day. And I mean, really properly. This is especially important. I'm not going to demonstrate this right now because someone might be listening without sound, and then they'll see Natascha and Michael on the internet, and Natascha will be sticking her tongue out at Michael. What on earth is he thinking? Just kidding, of course. But seriously now, a tongue coating, is it yellowish? Is it brownish? Is it greenish? Is the coating thicker? Are there any indentations on the sides of your tongue from your teeth? That, for example, is a whole science, how I examine my tongue. But it's best to look at its color. Is it normally moist, or is it too moist or too dry? Yes. And what about the symptoms? That's a clear indication. Yes. And then I say, okay, this is my current state of being. There are also resources available on the internet or various questionnaires. Okay, how do I even know how I'm truly feeling? Many people have access to these.
You don't really ask yourself that question. You notice you're perhaps feeling a bit run down or just tired, but you can't quite put that into words. And you don't even know the right questions to ask yourself, exactly as you just mentioned. So we'll establish this as our first really important learning. Fasting is certainly not the same for everyone. It can vary greatly depending on my current health status, my age, and my specific life situation. You brought up that for a woman after pregnancy, it can be something entirely different than for a busy top manager or for someone who simply wishes to shed a few pounds or who already engages in regular physical activity. So these are very different life situations that people find themselves in, and it then requires an individual path and not to lump everything together. Let's take that as the very first key takeaway for this session. You're right. We were just discussing these myths and common misconceptions about fasting. Let's address them now, one by one. Let's start with the very first one. Fasting leads to muscle loss. Among those who fast, many are already active, doing strength training, or perhaps even ambitiously aiming for a marathon or half marathon. So many who already do a lot, and it's precisely from them that I often hear, I can't fast now, I'll lose my muscle mass or I'll lose my fitness level. As an expert, what can you say to counter that?
Yes, I hear that just as often. And you can measure your musculature just once. The best thing is to get a biomeasurement done before the move days or right at the very beginning now, a bioimpedance analysis. And there you can see all the parameters and your musculature. And I can confirm that fasting causes muscle breakdown. That is a myth. Yes, it can happen, of course, if you do things wrong, if you fast incorrectly, it can happen. Why?
This is because during the time of fasting,
we must allow the body a certain state of rest with moderate movement and moderate exercise. When I say moderate, I mean really moderate. Exercise and sports. And we must ensure we've done enough preparation before the fast so we don't just abruptly jump into it like a parachute and I have now begun day one. No, what's important, of course, is that we've already been active before this and that we can pick up right where we left off. And for this purpose, the move days are absolutely ideal and truly excellent because the application offers such fantastic exercises specifically designed for building muscle. Everything is explained perfectly and is very motivating. Yes, and then after this 1 week of fasting, I will then start again specifically with muscle building. Then there won't be any muscle loss. And secondly, if one implements fasting correctly, truly correctly for oneself, then there is no muscle loss whatsoever. That means it's a myth that has become established. Yes, that only happens when you fast incorrectly. What does fast incorrectly mean? You mentioned juice fasting earlier. I believe that's a form of fasting where I would say, please don't do it. That's a red flag for me because juices are essentially just sugar. And we also want to consider during the move days, if it's a fast, that's a completely different situation. So there are already...
Let's talk about the myth of muscle wasting. How should I be fasting and what exactly am I doing? Am I making any mistakes here?
Perhaps just briefly, in detail, why juice fasting? Why is it bad if I add sugar to it now? I need energy, people say, don't they?
Yes, that's absolutely right. That's completely true. But if you drink an excessive amount of raw juices, it was a time, with all these smoothies when you'd see people from day one just diving right in and saying, from now on, I'm only going to have smoothies or just make my own juices. It's simply too much raw food for your gut, Not just sugar. It is fruit, it is glucose, it is sugar. And that gives a short, I'd say, a brief energy kick where I gain energy and then the insulin level drops, which means my energy level also falls and I get hungry. We said that fasting is not starving. Juice fasting leads to very rapid insulin rise and fall curves, you see? Because fast sugar, meaning glucose, is quickly broken down, providing quick energy, and then I enter this interval where I simply cannot burn fat at all.
Because there's always sugar available, that is a major goal of fasting, to achieve a state where the body truly learns to utilize fats as its primary energy source once more. That is what we also tend to unlearn in our daily lives. Yes, when we constantly snack, when we constantly consume carbohydrates and sugar, of course, at the end of the day. So that is indeed a very important point. These blood sugar spikes, which also arise through juice fasting, and you certainly wouldn't just eat 9 oranges, would you? I mean, you might perhaps eat 1 orange, and that is quite a different thing for your body than if I were to press 9 oranges and then drink them. Then I also have the sugar from 9 oranges, yeah?
The second important aspect we need to address is, and perhaps even more critically for me as a specialist in gut health, the significant impact that consuming so much raw food has on our digestive system.
It causes the intestine to cause and produce fermentation toxins. Why fermentation toxins? Well, because these juices, it's simply too much raw food consumed too often, you see. All at once, as you say, I press 9 oranges for myself and drink them all down.
And it can cause issues with the intestines and also affect the liver over the longer term. I've had clients, both men and women in their late 30s in top physical condition, coming to me with a fatty liver. No alcohol, so non-alcoholic, fatty liver syndrome, and even having those red cheeks, which made me ask them, have you in the past done a lot of juice fasting or eaten a lot of fruit? And they replied, yes, ever since I was a child.
I've been eating fruit all day long, you know. It is, after all, healthy. There's no question about it. It's healthy.
Fruit is healthy. I want to emphasize that. But only fruit and only juices, yes, can even lead to such extremes. That's why I'm so concerned about pure juice fasting. If you ask me, yes, which types of fasting are good and which, from my perspective, are rather not.
All right, let's address the second myth now. Fasting, it only leads to hunger, and I just can't manage that. I can't do it because I'm always hungry anyway. That's also a myth that you brought up. So what's your response to that?
Okay, so my question to you right now is, have you ever fasted, Michael?
Yes, I'm a huge fan, you know. I had a similar argument. I'm already so slim. I need so much energy anyway. Why should I fast, really? Yeah, I definitely noticed then that I had learned again how to metabolize fats and also had incredible energy. And after a couple of days, yeah, the first day isn't fun, and maybe the second one isn't either. But then eventually, yeah, it felt really liberating, and I was actually never hungry. But yeah.
Yes, that was my question. Have you been fasting? And the second one, were you hungry?
Yes, but that's just it. It's so deeply embedded in the minds of so many people. I can still vividly recall my time at Vivamere in Altersee, where I would often see many customers or guests who had been staying there later as patrons in the bakery or the confectionery shop because they truly believed they were hungry and would then proceed to consume a slice or two of cake.
It's so deeply embedded in many minds.
Yes, what makes fasting even more dangerous, you know, if you're in the middle of a fast and you're still eating cake and whatever else, but you know, you have the same experiences. And I also have people who say, for God's sake, I'm starving to death. I need to prepare myself for this now, Natascha.
To that, I must emphatically say no.
then I say, no, that's not true if you implement fasting correctly, if you choose the right setting. By setting, I mean, do I want to fast in my daily routine or go to a hotel or health resort and be guided by experts there? Or I could get an expert and do it on an outpatient basis, which means from my own home. And that also means while I'm still working, you see, because there are actually some really good fasting programs available that can be easily integrated into your daily routine, family life, and even your job. These are all different settings, right? And of course, in an everyday setting where I go to work and so on, I need a completely different nutritional approach during my fast. And there I would definitely say tea fasting is a complete no-go, right? In daily life, it's a definite no-go. People need to learn this because many will say, okay, I'll just start with tea fasting now and see how that goes. But I'll give a few more tips. For those interested in trying something out in a setting like a health hotel, for instance, fasting is approached differently. There are many different diet or nutrition levels, and you can definitely trust that it will be done professionally. Many people say to me, okay, that was a really great program just now. And what truly amazes me the most is how quickly I'm recognizing improvements. And also the fact that I didn't feel hungry at all. And here's another important tip. So it's not just about having a good program or environment, but also your gut health. Yes, if we can manage to achieve this during the fasting period, and that is indeed our ultimate goal, to establish within the intestine a truly healthy and beneficial gut flora, a truly optimal environment where the countless billions, even trillions of intestinal bacteria can comfortably reside. Those who perhaps until this very day have been very much addicted to sugar and who perhaps until this very day have been regularly consuming Aperol spritzes and so on. Yes, we really need to make sure that we get rid of these unwanted gut inhabitants. Get out of here, all of you. And then I would say we need to establish a healthy environment for beneficial gut bacteria.
Then we don't feel any hunger at all. No hunger will come. I can only recommend it to absolutely everyone. You simply have to experience it for yourself. Yes, you really can. You can believe it or not believe it when you hear something like this. I believe you really have to try it for yourself, or rather, you simply must experience it firsthand so that you can truly feel this particular effect, that you're not feeling hungry at all, and that you actually have even more energy afterwards. Yes.
More energy. Fasting? Absolutely yes. Hunger? Definitely no. Provided your digestive system is cooperating well, yes, yes, and a resounding yes. It has been completely cleaned. And yes, that's right. But that is a very significant and extensive topic. So, the hunger myth. Please, you absolutely shouldn't be hungry, people, when you're fasting. Otherwise, you're definitely doing something wrong. Or what you've read, somehow its practical application has faltered, or whatever the case may be. Hunger is an indication that something is not proceeding as it should.
That's a really good point. We'll definitely add that to our learnings as well. Last year, we had a wonderful session with you on the topic of chewing, how important chewing really is. And that is naturally even more important when fasting, that one begins to break down the food quite early, that one stores it for an extended period, and then also truly experiences and perceives this feeling of fullness because one simply eats more slowly. And then you also stay full for longer. So we'll gladly link the episode for you to look up. If you want to start, make sure to chew really, really well. Let's tackle one more myth, the topic of metabolism. Your metabolism slows down. Yes, that's something you hear all the time. And with the topic of weight, of course, there's often a concern like the yo-yo effect that comes with it. What do you have to offer there?
That is most certainly a myth, I must say. Fasting is also a very effective tool for losing weight. I want to make that perfectly clear right away. Fasting is a very important first step. Yes, it's an excellent introduction to a complete change in your eating habits. Yes, move days are a really good starting point right now so that we can truly internalize and carry the long-term benefits from them. Wouldn't you agree? It's precisely the same principle when it comes to fasting. It's a start to a dietary change afterwards. If I plan to fast and then just return to my old habits, it makes little sense. The yo-yo effect isn't from fasting, but because I did something wrong after that.
Yes, so metabolism will not be able to function properly.
Not restricted. On the contrary, blood pressure stabilizes, triglycerides go down. Liver values for those who have issues clearly improve, and inflammation markers decrease. And this is also scientifically proven. Yes, that's good. So scientifically proven, and through fasting, we train our sugar metabolism and our fat metabolism. These are also trained. Yes. So, metabolically speaking, that is a myth. Fasting is not an enemy. It is a friend of our metabolic health.
Yes, I'm also a big fan of ancient knowledge from centuries, millennia old. Also because I believe we in the modern world often presume too much, that we're so clever and so smart. But in all great cultures, in all great religions, people have been fasting for thousands of years. Whether it's Buddhism, whether it is Christianity, or whether it is Islam. So there's a tremendous amount of ancient knowledge present right there. And that certainly has a profound justification that it continues to exist even to this very day. And naturally, we are fully aware of the capabilities. We can scientifically substantiate a great many things today. You've already mentioned all the things that are possible. You also told me beforehand, okay, there are some new developments from the field of science, from current research. What is the latest news or any new developments that you can report?
Yes, last year I attended a rather interesting event, the World Congress on Gut Health, and Professor Dr. Jörg Bergemann has brought with him the very latest research studies. In these studies, more than 1,000 doctors participated, and it was truly and successfully demonstrated how the process of autophagy actually functions and operates specifically during periods of fasting. Specifically, they took a close look at modern Maya medicine or Maya therapy, pulse, and they really went ahead and set up a study. You can also imagine it like this, that every single day in each cell of our body, there are several tens of thousands of DNA damage events, right? Now, just try to imagine this. Many tens of thousands, which is 10 to the power of 14. That's a 1 followed by 18 zeros. I honestly don't even know what number that is. You probably don't either. So every single day, this happens in every single cell. So, is our body a repair miracle, or are we constantly our bodies are truly a miracle of self-repair, and that's precisely what was demonstrated to us, what actually occurs. So the human body possesses its own process of autophagy, even if you might not be familiar with the term. What exactly does autophagy mean?
Perhaps not everyone knows that.
Okay. Autophagy is referred to as cell cleansing, cell renewal, or to put it very simply and primarily, the cell literally eats itself, it devours itself. No, it's cleared of waste and waste disposal.
Dumped to trash
the
collection.
waste is sent to waste disposal, and what's needed is recycled within the cell, right? And everybody has this for itself as, yes, something given by nature. But there are many people, and speaking of today's lifestyle, who naturally don't have good cell regeneration and so on. So the initial situation is very important again. The measurement, for example, what does it tell me about my autophagy? Or how exactly does DNA repair function? It does exist, but it's extremely elaborate. So for us, it's available, and in the scientific community, it's also available, but it is very labor intensive. However, studies have shown that for individuals starting with a very low, that is their baseline condition, a very low or indeed moderate
that the power of autophagy itself ensures that fasting is much more effective and works much better, right? When it comes to people, for example, I'd like to take you as an example as a young person who, according to Dr. Mayr and his diagnostic methods, is healthy, who exercises and lives a healthy, conscious life, but enjoys it, no renunciation. That's what I mean.
Exactly. So this initial situation was clearly observable.
And it was observed during fasting. Specifically, they investigated FX Maya therapy, how quickly already after just 1 week, autophagy had very effectively kicked in, and the body was already in a good detoxification mode.
What are the prerequisites for autophagy to occur? Perhaps we should go into more detail on that.
Exactly. When we talk about fasting, what that means is refraining from eating anything for a certain period of time. The word breakfast is something we all know and use, isn't it? It's made up of break and fasting. So we've been fasting throughout the entire night, and then we have our meal at breakfast. Isn't that right?
Yes.
So yes, we've slept for 6-8 hours. That means we've already been fasting. Now we eat our break and fast as in breakfast. That's how you can remember it. So not eating anything for a certain period of time, right? Now, that's what we call fasting. Not eating for a period of time means you drink tea, you drink water during it. Scientists have, however, stated that the most effective autophagy, cell cleansing, and cell regeneration occurs after 17 hours of fasting or water tea fasting, and it becomes even more potent and strongest after 25 hours. And that is indeed the case.
Is this 16-8 approach, the intermittent fasting, also something that originated from this specific study?
Exactly. So it's not just 16-8, and other studies have also been conducted in a similar fashion, you know. Up until now, or rather until very recently, it was generally believed that from the 16th or even the 12th hour, we enter into a state of autophagy. And by the 16th hour, we are at our absolute peak, at the maximum level.
Now, science has progressed a little further and has stated, yes, but there is still one more stage, that is the 24th hour, and then the 25th.
So actually fast for an entire day.
For an entire day without any solid food intake. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean just tea fasting without solid food can also imply other things, you know. So clear soups and things like that, because you do lose a lot of electrolytes and so on. So please, if you're going to do something like this, then don't just rush into it and say, now I'm going to fast for 25 hours on tea only and then just continue as before. I would strongly advise against that shit. Instead, you should really inform yourself. How can I achieve this state where I can truly benefit from the maximum that science today clearly demonstrates for myself? But that's not actually necessary, is it? It's not necessary to immediately declare a 25-hour fast. There is indeed a type of fasting, according to Mr. Mayr, where you can still have 2 or even 3 meals throughout the day, you know? There is tea fasting, specifically following Dr. Buchinger's method. There is intermittent fasting. And as you so perfectly mentioned earlier, this has been known for decades. It's very old. Exactly. And for that, yes, science has generally confirmed this calorie reduction, this principle, to 500 calories per day. That means we don't always have to go without food for 25 hours or just do a tea fast.
Science has conclusively proven that the way we nourish ourselves, the specific calorie reduction methods we employ, and the food choices I make
has just as good an effect on these repairs, on DNA repair, on autophagy. Just like this, I'd say 25-hour tea fast
Well, there's actually some really strong evidence, and that's why I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a fan of just one approach or the other. Instead, it really needs to be the right fit for you.
Perhaps it could be a good start to begin with fasting. You notice, okay, you're not feeling hungry, you have good energy. After 5 to 7 days, your body's metabolism adjusts. You're primarily metabolizing fats, and then you realize, okay, you're not hungry at all. Then you could try perhaps to eat nothing for a whole day, right? Or what are your thoughts on that?
I could certainly recommend it as well, but for that, please, you really must prepare yourselves thoroughly.
Yes.
And if you're going to undertake something like that, perhaps should I give you a quick tip on how the preparation, just very briefly?
Yes, you've brought a checklist with you anyway. We've already made a lot of progress. Perhaps we can go through this checklist and you can answer this question in the process. So how can I really get started now? How should I begin? We'll look at that in the last few minutes of this episode.
Yes. Right. I've brought this exclusively for the Move Days participants. You can always listen back or perhaps read up on it. For example, I plan to fast for 10 or 12 days during the Move Days. I'll be working throughout. I do my exercises from the Move app. And exactly, how do I do that? Please prepare for a minimum of 2 to 3 days. What does preparing mean? No sugar, no alcohol, reduce rice, pasta, and similar foods, or completely abstain from them. Slowly ease into it. Yes, to ensure that I am already consuming a sufficient amount of my 2 liters, or rather 1.5 to 2 liters of water or unsweetened herbal tea. Yes. Keep your exercise moderate. You know, in the app, there are some truly wonderful and also very gentle exercises, even muscle building routines with you, Michael, which I can easily do. And I'm permitted to do even during my fasting period, precisely because they are moderate. So you should definitely start by keeping your workouts moderate. Perhaps you've been doing a lot, but yes, keep it moderate. And write down for yourselves, what is it you wish to achieve with this fasting? Perhaps I want to cast something out from my mind. Perhaps I want to expel something from my life. Perhaps I want to write all of that down, because fasting truly works wonders. So a minimum of 2 to 3 days. Then take about 5 to 7 days. Allow yourselves time with 3 meals a day, with a minimum of 4 to 6 hours break in between. Your last meal is 3 hours before going to bed, and that's a soup or just tea.
Would you prefer a clear soup or a more substantial thickened one?
Can I just ask a quick question? I don't want to interrupt you yet, but I just know this because many people tell me, and they really struggle with skipping their evening meal. Many say they'd much rather skip breakfast because they don't really have an appetite then anyway, and they'd prefer to eat a bit more in the evening.
Yes, that's exactly right. However, if you decide to skip breakfast, then you won't have any energy for the entire day, people. And you'll essentially be borrowing energy from your future self. That means you'll inevitably fall into this trap where you get intense cravings in the evening or late afternoon.
Yes, breakfast, please. Breakfast can be an open-faced sandwich with bell pepper, vegetables, good hummus, plenty of flaxseed oil, whatever you like. Also an egg with it. Yes, a good breakfast, 4 hours, 6 hours, nothing but tea water. A good satisfying lunch, providing us with plenty of carbohydrates. Perhaps we could consider skipping the meat for a change.
Carbohydrates in the form of vegetables. 4 boiled potatoes. They keep you feeling incredibly full and are truly excellent energy providers. Absolutely packed with vitamin C. Even more than a lemon, for example. These are all just helpful tips. And the golden rule, after 2 p.m., no raw vegetables or fruit, no raw food at all. Until 2 p.m. You can have your salad, whatever kind you prefer. And then in the evening, you'll get the soup. If you've had a good breakfast, then you won't have any hunger later in the evening. Please believe me when I tell you this. And if your bowel movements are consistently regular, that means you're having a bowel movement every single day. This is directly connected to your overall gut health. Michael, this is important, very important. This is now a particular form of fasting where I tell myself, okay, I'm going to give up acidic foods and I'm going to skip my dinner. I'll still have a warm soup. I'll have something, it's really not a big deal at all.
Well, it certainly is something. Yes, that's right.
If you want a trick for your evening soup or tea, let's say you prefer tea instead of soup, then please spoon your tea slowly. This creates a feeling of fullness because your brain believes that food is coming, and that's how you can trick it. And as Michael explained so wonderfully, and I hope you'll also link my chewing training and my chewing lecture from last year, chew sufficiently, starting right from breakfast, and chew your lunch. Get your mouth watering, everyone. Make sure you try a delicious portion for yourselves. You can do it already today. Make sure to chew every single bite of your lunch 30 times. While you're doing that, count each chew and then give Michael and me feedback on how much food is left on your plate. This is because it has been scientifically proven that we consume 11% less food when we chew our meals thoroughly. And that's where we save ourselves a huge amount of calories. Exactly. After that 1 week, we slowly ease back. When I say slowly, back into your old rhythm. Even just a piece of meat or a piece of fish, so an acid-forming diet, because we've been on a rather alkaline diet, or 90. And I'm also carefully approaching my very first cake after approximately 1 week of rebuilding my system. Yes, absolutely everything is permitted. The ultimate goal is pure enjoyment, not strict deprivation. And indeed, even fasting itself is a form of true enjoyment. You will only after fasting truly experience this incredible, this wonderful feeling of how much you have transformed in your mind, in your gut, in your body, in your soul, and in your energy. I can promise you that. I am available for any questions you may have.
Yes, dear Natascha, that was really very concrete. I think many can truly make use of that to put it into action. We will also summarize it again as a checklist for our listeners. And you've brought something very special also for our listeners, especially for those who want to learn more, who want to take action quickly. What can you offer them?
This is exclusively for the Move Days and specifically for all participants who are attending the Move Days. The first 5 individuals among you who get in touch with me will receive a very special offer. By sending an email, you'll exclusively get a full 30-minute coaching session, completely focused on the important topic of what is truly good for me. What is the best option for my specific needs? Which fasting method is right for me? What can I do for my health? Whatever specific topic you might have in mind, I can certainly start right there and provide you with coaching, and I'd be very happy to do so. And that's just because of Movio.
Cool. Thank you so much, dear Natascha. We will be linking your email address. When you send an email to Natascha, please make sure to include the code word MOVEDAYS, and then you will receive an exclusive consultation, a truly personal consultation to help you pave your way into the world of fasting. Yes, what a truly wonderful episode this has been. So, I'll quickly summarize a few things for myself and for you all. First, we talked about how fasting is individual and that it greatly depends on your current life situation. No matter if you are an athlete, if you've just had a pregnancy, or if you're completely overwhelmed at work. In that case, it absolutely makes sense to take stock of the current situation and conduct a comprehensive assessment, ideally accompanied by Natascha. Well, I believe we've now successfully managed to clear up some of those common myths. And yes, it's important to remember that fasting does not cause any harm to your muscle mass. When you fast correctly, you won't feel hungry and your metabolism won't slow down either. So these myths, it's best to truly experience them firsthand. I can only recommend it. I have experienced it myself, and I will use the Move Days again to get myself back in shape and do 1 or 2 fasting weeks. So the recommendation is to really get into fasting. And finally, we received a really great checklist all about fasting, what to keep in mind, what makes it easier. Chewing is part of that, as we've heard. It's part of that to also eat predominantly alkaline sometimes and to accordingly take breaks between your meals. Now, of course, there was so much covered. I can't summarize it all right now, but those were the most important takeaways for me. And if you'd like to know more, please don't hesitate to contact Natascha directly. We will link the email address, code MOVEDAYS, and then there's an exclusive personal consultation to perfectly utilize the move days and get your personal best out of them. Thank you for joining us for this exciting episode. A special episode on the Wonder Pill of exercise as part of the Move Days 2026, the health challenge for companies and a good cause. Dear Natascha, thank you so much for joining us again and enriching us with your knowledge and expertise. Thank you. Thank you.
Wishing you success.
Well then, we're going to say goodbye for now. We'll be seeing you all again next week. And once again, a special slide for you. Use it or lose.
More together for you, your team, and a good cause. Join the Movivo Move Days, the ultimate health challenge during Lent, and win exclusive prizes. Collect points for 45 days in the Movivo app, together with your colleagues or in your own personal way. Whether it's through your favorite sports, breathing exercises, giving up sugar, or ice bathing, every point counts. Are you ready?